Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. I guess we can call it a special edition of Batter Up. Mike Griffin, the old ops guy, with you. We are here to recap the Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees. We are going to give you the Met perspective before this afternoon, where Dan and Bill on SIP give you the Yankee perspective and tell you how great Aaron Boone is as a manager.
Yes, the look on his face after Rodon threw the ball, pretty much said it all.
Yeah. So the first round of the Subway Series has ended. The Mets take two of three from their crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees, after a dramatic comeback Sunday. We'll go through all three of the games. Round two of the Subway Series will not be played until September in Yankee Stadium.
Which could really be of real importance for both teams coming that time.
Yeah, because at that point, there's only going to be, let me just double check here how many series will be left. But it is, I got to be honest with you, I hate the fact that it's in September.
Yeah, so do I.
So is the weekend of September 11th, which might explain something. But then the Mets have one, two, three, four series left. So I would presume the same for the Yankees. But as we said, we will go through each game and talk about it. But the Mets win the first round of the Subway Series, 2 of 3. They've won some like 18 of 24 against the Yankees at Citi Field.
Yeah, the Mets own the Yankees at Citi Field. The Yankees have not won a series in, I believe, in over 3 years or something like that.
2018 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was the last time the Yankees won a series at Citi Field. All right, so let's we will go backwards and then forward. So we'll start with the Friday night game,
Yep.
which pitted Cam Schlittler for the Yankees against Clay Holmes for the Mets. That's the game the Yankees win 5-2. The big story though in that game, Clay Holmes breaks his leg for the Mets, or breaks his fibula for the Mets, out for the foreseeable future. As of right now, no surgery is scheduled. He has said that, but we know how these things can change. But Mark Clay Holmes out long term. This is a
It's
blow.
the it's an unfortunate blow because he was pitching a really good game too, and he's had a great season. And for him to stand out there and finish the inning, you got to give the guy credit there too. I mean, broke a bone in his leg and he still had to pitching. Um, but now you add this to this pile. It's no longer a stack. Now it's a pile of Mets injuries, and it's so concerning that the entire AAA team is starting to get called up because the Mets are running out of options. They're getting a good report back on Luis Robert, who might be back in about a week. Um, and that's really like the only good news. There's no other real news about returning of other players. So now you're throwing another starter. You already have Senga with the spine issue. Manea has not looked great. Peterson looked better, and so it's going to be between Peterson or Manea who's going to take Holmes' spot in the rotation. So it's a huge loss. However, I want to give credit to whether it was I don't remember who hit the ball, whether it was Volpe or whatever, or was Spencer Jones or whatever. When he found out that he had broke, um,
Spencer Jones.
it was Spencer Jones. When he found out he broke Clay Holmes' leg, he immediately apologized because he didn't even know about it. That's respect. That's all. I just wanted to give him a shout out for that. That's just pure respect and signs of a good, clean ball player.
Clay, in a season so far that has been can only be described in bad words as a Met fan. Clay Holmes was a bright spot. And now you're down the guy who's been your most consistent starting pitcher, a guy who's been really good for you, a guy who should listen. I know it's May, but the every team is an all-star rule, which I hate. Clay Holmes probably would have been the Met representative at this point.
Probably.
So to lose him for this period of time does suck. And we could dive into after we get through the rest of the series how they should go about replacing him. We could definitely have that conversation because you said a name that I after yesterday I want zero part of in the rotation. So that'll be Sean and I, but we'll
Okay.
dive into that. But I also want to tip my cap to Cam Schlittler. The Met offense was not great in that game,
They were
but
overpowered.
he was dominant in that game. 9 Ks through 6 2/3. So he's turning himself into a really good pitcher.
Yep. Yeah. Shies of. I hate to say, hate to put him there already, but he's got pitches just like Garrett Cole does. And the two of them, as long as they don't overuse him and blow his arm out, God forbid, make a very deadly 1-2 with once Garrett Cole comes back. And that's not too far away.
And here's the thing for the Yankees. You're going to have an interesting decision come playoff time because most teams go with the 3 playoff starters because you got Cole, you got Rodon, you got Max Fried, and then you got Schlittler. So that's going to be an interesting conversation for Aaron Boone to have.
We'll see what his Max Fried just went on the IL just this past Friday. So, I mean, the Yankees feeling the brunt of injuries as well.
So we'll see what happens there. But again, we'll dive more into the Holmes thing in a minute. The second game on Saturday night, where John Smoltz thought he was pitching, the Mets beat the Yankees by a score of 6-3. The big play really being the 2 big plays. One was the wild pitch by Rodon.
Yes.
And then he threw the ball away for a second run to score. And then the job by Yankee legend Luke Weaver to come into a spot with bases loaded, nobody out. He gets 2 strikeouts and a weak ground ball, no run score. And then he goes out for a second inning.
And Mike just said it. Those were the 2 heroes of the game right there. One of them being Yankees pitcher and one of them being a former Yankees pitcher. That's just the way it goes. I mean, the Mets were hitting the Yankees were hitting the Mets. Errors here and there in this game, but the Mets took a nice clean one. But yet again, probably the hero of this entire game was Luke Weaver.
He was great in this game. His best outing, in my opinion.
So far.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the other guy who had a really good outing, and I've been critical of the guy, David Peterson has kind of found a niche here where he doesn't start the game and he comes out of the bullpen, kind of like he did in the playoffs 2 years ago.
Yeah. We saw that this weekend. He took over for Brazaban, gave up that double to Chisholm early, but after that, pretty much what we had Mike said, looked just like he did 2 years ago coming in for the playoffs. He was calm. A couple of pitches a little bit wild, but otherwise, I think like Mike said, I think so Mike said it perfectly. He's carved himself that area to the Mets long reliever, and with the loss of Clay Holmes, he might have just worked himself back into the rotation.
And Peterson, 4 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, which you don't love, and eight strikeouts. But you know what? I think for David Peterson, and I'm gonna be someone who says this, I have written him off for 2027. He's a free agent after the year. I don't think whether the Mets pay him or not is not my, because it's not like he's going to make $35 million a year. He's not going to do that. But if you're the Mets and you think, you know what, we can use another left-handed reliever. AJ Minter's going to be a free agent. Brooks Raley's 38. We don't know what his future holds. Maybe you convert David Peterson from being a starter into a solid left-handed reliever.
And it has worked for players over the past, players who have no longer can go long. John Smoltz, to give a perfect example, was a great starter and ended up being an even better closer. I mean, one of the rare occurrences where we see that happen, but yeah, it's a possibility.
So the Subway Series is evened at a game apiece heading into yesterday. And we didn't really talk about it. We didn't text about it, but that 6th inning where the Yankees unloaded 4 runs, including a dropped fly ball by Bo Bichette.
The shines of Luis Castillo.
This is not a, forget not being a good sign. Like, they're imploding. Like, this is what the season has been. They've imploded. And to do it on this stage against the New York Yankees, my mind was like, can they fire Mendoza after this game? Could that be a potential thought for Steve Cohen, for them to implode during the Subway Series? And then the Mets were like, remember us imploding? Yeah, no. We're going to get 2 in the bottom of the 6th from a Luis Torrens double. And then Mendy, for some stupid reason, keeps Sean Manaea in this game. He walks in a run.
The most painstaking way for a run to score.
And then we get to the bottom of the 9th. The Mets are trailing by 3. And yeah, we will go through everything in a second. But Carson Bench against David Bednar leads off, and he muscles a base hit into center field.
Yep.
Bo Bichette, first pitch swinging. He gets a base hit in the center field. So we get first, second on, down 3. You get Juan Soto up. And I think it was Ron in the booth who goes, he's never had this kind of moment as a Met yet.
The walk-off homer.
Well, it would have tied the game. Instead, Soto hits into a fielder's choice. I will give him credit for hustling down the line, because if they turn 2, game's over, basically. Yep. But he beats out the relay throw to first. So now you got first and third one out. Mark Vientos strikes out on 3 or 4 pitches. And then the game is left.
2 of them he should have crushed.
Yeah. And then the game was left. in the hands, and you said it to me when we first started talking. You do not expect Tyrone Taylor to come through in that spot. And then first pitch is a hanging curveball or a hanging slider, and it gets deposited into left field.
Well, for pretty much about 2 seconds, everybody's like, is it foul or is it fair? It was a good, like, 10 feet fair. It just was close enough that as you're watching the ball go, and just making sure it went to that to the good side of the pole. And it was literally a shock. Because if anybody's seen the movie Little Big League, and I even said this yesterday, and if you remember at the end of Little Big League, Mickey Scales, the rookie, you want me to hit? Yeah, go ahead. What do you do? He hit the game tying 3-run home run. It was just like that, And then anybody knows, Mike, when you get a play like that, you go from a 2 to a 10 instantly. And you are fired up.
And Citi Field erupted. And listen, I'll be the first person to tell you. When you're talking about fair foul, like the camera angle, and I think Gary Cohen's like, is it fair? Is it fair? I had flashbacks to 2019 when Todd Frazier hit that home run against the Nats.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. And Gary's like, it's fair. Home run. And I'm just, this team is so stupid because we're sitting there going, oh, no, a series loss. But Taylor keeps it fair. We go to the 10th inning. You get the ghost runner, which we can get into the rules, but I hate the rule. But Devin Williams gets a double play turned by Mark Vientos. And I am going to come out and say this because I've been very critical of Vientos at first base. That might have been the best play Mark Vientos has made in his entire career.
It was a perfect first base, second back to first. You labeled it out perfectly. And the one thing, like Mike said, Pete Alonso might have not have been a 100% the best. Pete Alonso made plays that the Mets have missed all year when it comes to fielding. The scoops out of the dirt, stretching out for the ball. That's something the Mets are not going to be able to replace. But Mark Vientos did literally something like a 10-year veteran would do. Boom, bang, bang, bang. 3-6-3 double play. Beautiful.
And the emotion for both Vientos and Devin Williams to keep the game tied. Then we go to the bottom of the 10th. Tie game. Marcus Semien is your ghost runner at second if you're the Mets. And what's the first thing you do with the rookie AJ Ewing up? You call on him to sacrifice and play a little small ball. And they mentioned it on the broadcast. He had never had a sacrifice bunt in the minor leagues. And he dropped out a perfect sacrifice bunt.
Perfect bunt. The edge of the dirt, so the ball had no momentum. Got Semien over to third. That was the whole key.
That brought up Luis Torrens with a runner on third. Torrens had already had a 2-run double in this game. And Torrens was trying to shoot that ball to left field because the Yankees had
nobody there.
Yeah, they put Bellinger in right field and they put Grisham basically in right center because they brought in the left fielder Schuneman. Instead, Luis Torrens gets hit by the pitch. First and third, 1 out. That leads to Carson Benj, and for the second time on the homestand, Carson Benj. It's a walk-off hit when he hits a chopper up the middle. Jazz Chisholm and Shuneman collide, basically. But the run scores. The Mets don't care. The Mets win the game 7-6. And they take the first round of the Subway Series. And the first the first person to greet Carson Benj on the field, Juan Soto.
There was a lot of talk before the beginning of the season that Benj was going to be the right fielder. That was going to be the one AAA who was going to be up right away. And then we were saying Mauricio. And we were concerned about Benj. I mean, obviously, first game, it's his first career home run. Is he going to hit 76? No, didn't please. He's starting to take shape. He's starting to get a little bit. He's out of getting his feet wet. He's now starting to meld and learning more and more, not just from his play, but from everybody else who's around him. This is not a guy who's afraid to take direction because he's learning not only to play center field, he's playing right, he's playing left. It's a rarity to have a outfielder as young as he is with the capabilities to play all three and do a good job doing it.
And what he's doing at the plate now, young players, we know young players for the most part are going to struggle. But he has turned what was a dreadful start, and he is making himself into this is the guy we saw in spring training. And he's only going to get better as he grows as a player and maturity wise. But these moments, I'm going to use a big word here. These are galvanizing moments for the New York Mets. A 5-1 homestand when the vibes were not very good.
Nope.
And they have started, Mark, to start stacking series wins.
And that's a very big key. You don't need to sweep every series.
Nope.
It would be nice, but you don't need to.
2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. I believe the only series they've lost in their last 5 is the Arizona series.
Yep. And that is correct.
Listen,
right here.
That you're not going to win every series. We know that. We understand that.
Right. But as long as you're gaining a game here and there. A week ago, it was an embarrassment to see how far away the Mets were. We're just talking the NL East. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
The Braves, we know where the Braves are. But you look at the Phillies, everybody else was all ahead. Marlins, Nationals. And they 4 or 5 games. Now they're only ahead from Atlanta's still there. Atlanta's still 10 games up, 11 games up. But the other 3 are now with a game and a half. What was 4 and 5 games. The Mets are starting to, like Mike said, to turn series losses into series wins. And with each series, they're gaining a little bit of ground here and there.
And they're getting closer to 500, which is, that's when you could start saying, you know what? We're feeling pretty good right now. And if you're the Mets, this is a big week. You get 4 with the Nationals in DC. And then you get.
But you're not a cakewalk.
No. But you know what? If you don't win 3 or 4, split it.
I'll take 2 wins. I'd be happy with that.
And then you go to Miami for 3 with the Marlins. Find a way to take 2 of 3.
Yeah.
You got to keep these positive vibes going. So I do hate to be Debbie Downer, but we do got to talk about the play Holmes thing.
Yeah.
You talked about who should replace him in the rotation, whether that's Peterson, Manaya. I'll throw in Tobias Myers if they
I
want
was
to put,
about to say, yeah, there are a couple other possibilities.
or they can go, or they can go the AAA route. And
Yeah, you have
the,
Christian Scott down there. You have
you got Jack Weniger, who had a good spring
Weniger, right?
training. Um, I would try to avoid Jonah Tong just because we want him to get a little bit more experience.
And not only that, he has not had a terrific start to this minor league season.
But I'm going to say this: what Shum and I gave the 2024 Mets was awesome.
Mhm.
Since the 2024 Shum and I happened, I don't know what's happened to this guy. The velocity isn't there. The control isn't there. He's not the Sean Mania. We loved it in 2024. This is a different version, and he can't be in the rotation. I mean, I know what Mendy was trying to do yesterday with keeping him in that game, but when you make that a game again, he's got to come out. He walks in a run, you're now instead of down 2, you're down 3 late in the game. It's just something that can't happen. And listen, I feel bad for Minai. I know he's trying to figure out what's wrong, but I can't have that be in my rotation.
No, and the walks yesterday weren't missed by an inch. They weren't missed by 1 feet. They were missed by 2 and 3 feet, high and outside, low in the so low in the dirt that a farmer would have needed a hoe to scoop him out. It was that bad. And we've seen him that bad after he came back from that injury to the shoulder, which is really what transferred him to the bullpen. He is not he has not resurged to that position of where he was in 2024. I agree with you 100%. Peterson, mind you, yeah, he still gave up 2 runs, did have 8 strikeouts, and it was big strikeouts, and not against guys who are nobodies. Talking about some of the best hitters in the current MLB right now. Peterson has the experience. Peterson has looked the best out of the bullpen of the long relievers. But yes, there's still other options the Mets could take. There are other roads they can go.
The other big thing out of this series for me that I took away a couple of things. One, obviously, is Clay Holmes. 2, AJ Ewing can play.
Yeah.
AJ Ewing, I think that's your center fielder of the future. You kick Benj over to right, and in a couple of years, because it's going to happen at some point during this contract, when they make Soto the permanent DH, it's going to become a thing.
He can fly.
That's going to become a thing. Soto's DH, so they'll have to figure out left field in a little bit. But AJ Ewing can play. If the Mets can start getting anything out of Bo Bichette, this lineup is going to become way more dangerous.
And Bo Bichette over the last 10 or so at bats, I know he's like 2 for like 20 in his last 20 at bats or something like that, close to it. He's been hitting the ball hard. The problem is it's just hanging up long enough that it's getting to that right. It's not dropping in for those base hits that he was used to. But something that you have to consider, and forget about the fact that he played the Yankees, I take it on the fact that half of these pitchers he's never seen before.
No, that
And as a major league player, yeah, you got to adjust. This is your job. You're getting paid big money to play in New York. You gotta adjust. But yes, half of these pitchers he hasn't seen. He doesn't know what their pitches look like, but he will. This is only May. We're in the first 2 months of baseball. Everybody knows baseball doesn't really heat up until the end of June, beginning of July. Right around the All-Star break is right where we start seeing those teams start making their lead from the pack.
and you know what? They're getting hot before Memorial Day, which is great. I think they're now 10-5 in May or something like that after a brutal April. Look, maybe it's a bad month. It was a bad month, and we know that could kill you in baseball. But this team is showing resiliency. They're showing guts at a time where they really need to, because you brought it up before. We don't know when Robert's coming back. We do not know when Francisco Lindor is coming back.
Alvarez is out for
Alvarez is out for a couple of months now with a torn meniscus in his knee. And now, obviously, Clay Holmes. Now, the fact that they could have packed it in and said, we got so many guys hurt. It's just not our year. But they cowboyed up and said, you know what? We're going to take 2 or 3 from the Yankees. We can find ways to win series. We've got some good ball players in here. And I'm going to give credit to the one person who I think deserves credit in this. Carlos Mendoza has stayed even keeled throughout this. And I can be totally ticked off at the fact that he left Manaea in that game yesterday. And I can be ticked off about him not being angry enough. But maybe it's that personality that keeps this team together, because they could have folded like a sack of folding chairs. And
and
they
they could have
don't.
said
They
they could have
didn't.
said, we were talking not less than what was it, 2 years, a year ago. The Mets aren't going to be competitive until 2026. And here we are, 2026, and the injury stack is bigger than what the Mets are carrying. I mean, Polanco, Alvarez, it's almost the entire starting lineup. It's sad. It's sad.
But where they are, yes, they're still in the basement in the National League East. They can make some hay this week. But as you said it before, it's May 18th.
Also, let one little bit of credit. Deshaun Watson didn't sit on the sidelines for his team when he was injured. He sat in the sweep box. In the dugout, Francisco Lindor is not only in his gear, he is full in his gear. He's in his jersey. He's in there. And when Taylor hit the home run, the explosion out of him, the reaction out of him was as if he's playing in this game. I'm just using that as a competitive fact to show care and no care here. He's there for his team. Other players who went to get surgery obviously are not there at the moment. Robert is currently rehabbing in Port St. Lucie along with Senga, so they are not there. But Lindor is there every day, and I understand. Steve Cohen said there's never going to be another captain. Look, the Yankees have had how many captains in their lifetime? 4 or 5?
The Yankees have had
One time
in our lifetime too. But yes,
in our lifetime too, maybe 4 or 5 in all total. In my lifetime of the Mets, it's been one, and that was David Bryant.
Wasn't Keith the captain too?
I don't know if he was, and I could be wrong. I don't know if he was ever named captain, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just don't remember that. But as I
I
said, if
wasn't
I'm wrong,
live, so I can't tell you.
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And Keith, if I'm wrong, I know you're watching. I'm sorry. I look, the one person who needs to be in the Hall of Fame with your Gold Gloves, please. Um, let me tell you, the Mets need replacements in certain areas. However, like Mike and I both just said, it's May 18th. There's a lot of positive morale in that dugout. That's a key. They're not sitting there moping. There's morale. So there's something. There's energy. There's want to win. That's all you need from a team. You don't need a team to hit 50 home runs this season. You need a team that wants to play and wants to win. Small ball will win you more games than the mighty home run. Look, home runs are great. Mike and I have both said it. We both
Mhm.
love seeing a monster home run. Who doesn't? But I'm sorry. If you want to take a team that hits 5 home runs in a game and puts up 7 runs, or a team that smacks around 5 or 6 doubles and puts up 11 runs, there's a difference there.
Small ball is still successful. I think there's no better proof really than the Rays because of when they played under Joe Madden, what they did was basically small ball. This lineup isn't built to hit 4 and 5 home runs a game. They're just not. They're not built like that. They're built to put the ball in play. Now
Mm-hmm.
they're not only putting the ball in play, they're getting breaks. They were not getting breaks in April.
And one thing I will say is the ABS this weekend was a key factor. I mean, some of them were there were a few that were really just so bad that I couldn't believe were called strikes, and you saw it was like 5 feet out of the way. This ABS monitoring system has really spun my thought of it. I thought it was going to be, and I said it live. I said it was going to cause issues. It was going to, no, it is. I am 100% wrong. This has made the game better.
I want to go with one last thing, and then if you want to hit something else.
Yeah.
With the absence of Clay Holmes now, it is imperative. I'm using big words this morning. It is imperative of
Mike, you were reading that word a day toilet paper again, weren't you?
it's my word of the day that Freddie Peralta becomes the guy the Mets thought they were dealing for. Freddie Peralta gave the Mets an opportunity yesterday. He wasn't his greatest, but he did what good pitchers do. He kept his team in the game. They need Freddie Peralta to find his real form in the absence of Clay Holmes.
And to touch on the same thing, I couldn't agree with you more. For me, if this Mets team can come out of May and be, let's say, in third place, come out of May and be in third place in the AL East. I can't believe I just did that. Oh man, in the NL East, be in third place in the NL East. There's a positive, not only just for this team as a whole, but for all the guys that are coming back and can come back saying, you know what, I still have a shot of having a season here, and that one guy being right now the only one we know being out the true extent is being Clay Holmes, who, if pitched again, wouldn't be until possibly September, or maybe if they make the playoffs in October. Lindor could be September for all we know the way it's going. But the energy is here. Let's get the 7 line army even bigger. The fans need to help this team along and to show we have their back. and the players need to just keep what they're doing and keep the line and keep the head straight.
There's a catchphrase in Mets history, and that is, you gotta believe. And we still believe.
Yes, we
And
do.
through all the ups, through the downs, we still believe. It's May 18th. The Mets are playing well. The vibes are good. Now go out to DC and Miami. Keep the good times rolling. Although in Miami, maybe avoid the nightclubs, but that's a whole.
Yeah. Let's stay indoors, please.
But if you're in DC and you want to have dinner at Moser's, you could do that if you want.
Yeah, stop by. Nate will host you.
They'll help you.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do for the Met perspective here on this edition of the Batter Up podcast. About an hour or so, Dan and Bill will be live with SIP. They'll probably
the original broadcast that started it all.
They'll give you the Yankee perspective and other stuff going on in the sports world. Probably an Eastern Conference final preview too now, knowing who the Knicks are going to play.
Yep. And
James Harden
Dan and I will. James Harden. Dan and I will be live tomorrow at our usual 1:00 for the tip off of leading into the ECF. So look out for that. That's going to be a fun talk. It's going to be a great series. We will go live for one of them. We usually do. We just don't know which one yet.
If you're watching here on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, smash the bell for notifications. Follow the socials, Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, @Insanity Real. Go to the website, thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. For the old ops guy, Mike Rifkin. We'll talk to you all again very soon, but thanks for listening. Special edition of Batter Up, the Met Perspective Subway Series recap. Have a great